Welcome to Set Analyse. Today we're unpacking something absolutely fascinating, presented by Dr. Christophe Delong and Kinexa. It's called the adapted perception. And let me tell you right out of the gate, the connection we're going to explore today is, well, it's nothing short of profound. We're basically going to bridge what seems like an impossible gap. I mean, we're connecting a legendary 19th century French painter with the absolute cutting-edge world of modern sports biomechanics. Sounds a bit like a stretch at first, right? But stick with me, because once you see the data and the methodology they present, it makes perfect, undeniable sense. Okay, let's dive into this. So, we all know Claude Monet, right? He's the undisputed master of Impressionism, always out there painting in his famous garden. He's literally the man who captured light like no one else. But here's something a lot of people actually don't realize. Later in his life, Monet started to lose his sight. Now, for a visual artist, you'd think that's it, right? Game over, an immediate end to the career. But here's the truly fascinating part. He didn't put down his brushes, not at all. Instead, he just painted exactly what his new, altered vision was showing him. He didn't quit. He adapted his art to a completely new reality, a reality that literally no one else on Earth could see but him.
To really wrap our heads around how this unfolded, we kind of have to follow his timeline. Born in 1840, Monet's life took this dramatic biological turn around 1912. He developed bilateral cataracts, and this wasn't just, things getting a little blurry. His actual physical perception of color fundamentally changed. The yellows and greens, they just started to vanish completely from his sight, and instead, these deep blues and purples completely took over his visual field. The sharp contours of the world he used to paint basically dissolved into pure light. Yet right in the thick of this deterioration, starting around 1914, he kicks off his famous nymphæas, or water lilies period, which he kept working on right up until he passed away in 1926. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is that we have to make a crucial scientific distinction. When we look at Monet's later, super abstracted work, it's really easy to assume, oh, he was just compensating for his bad vision, like he was struggling to paint the way he used to despite his failing eyes. But according to Dr. Delong and Kinexa, that's not what was happening. This was a true sensory adaptation. His nervous system actively readjusted to new input conditions. He wasn't just compensating for a loss or trying to fake his old style. His brain was actually operating a completely new visual system. And the results of that new system are honestly magnificent. When you get really close to Monet's water lilies, you can clearly see these altered, incredibly thick strokes. And of course, those dominant, almost overwhelming blue and purple colors that completely defined his cataract period. This sensory adaptation resulted directly in the Nymphea series, which, let's be real, stands today as some of the most influential and celebrated work in the entire history of modern art. Think about that. He took what we'd clinically call a degraded system and turned it into an absolute masterpiece. To understand exactly how he pulled off this kind of mastery, we've got to look at his underlying method. Take Monet's famous haystack series, for example. He painted the exact same subject, just these simple haystacks, under 25 different lighting conditions. And this wasn't just some artistic obsession. It was a rigorous, almost scientific protocol. He really understood this foundational truth. The reality of a phenomenon is revealed in its variation, not when it's just sitting there in a single stable state. Which brings us to an incredible metaphorical pivot, and this is where the parallel with modern sports science just blows my mind. On one side, we've got the Monet method. He takes the exact same landscape, the haystacks, and changes the variables. For him, those variables were the 25 different lighting conditions, all to reveal a visual truth. On the other side, we've got the Kinexa method. They take the exact same physical movement, let's say a squat, and change the variables. They use different levels of fatigue, different weight loads, and different stages of motor learning. And the goal here? To reveal neurological truth through load variation. The artistic protocol and the scientific protocol are beautifully conceptually identical. Let's move to and see how this builds in the modern era. We're stepping completely out of the 19th century French garden right now and straight into a state-of-the-art sports science laboratory. Here, an athlete's biomechanics are being tracked, measured, and analyzed with absolute pinpoint precision. Dr. Christophe Delong and the Kinexa motion capture team are essentially taking Monet's exact principle, that truth is found in variation, and applying it directly to the human body in motion. So the crucial point that every athlete, coach, or honestly anyone interested in human performance needs to hear is this.
The nervous system at a 60% load is fundamentally, biologically different than it is at 90% of its maximum load. Your body isn't just working harder when you add weight, it's organizing itself entirely differently. Kinexa's technology is built specifically to read these incredibly precise differences in the athlete's nervous system under varying conditions. By analyzing that variation, they extract the underlying logic of how that specific body moves, how it compensates, and how it adapts. And this brings us to a really fascinating real-world question. What actually happens when an athlete returns to training with a degraded system after an injury? I want you to think about this deeply for a second. An injury fundamentally changes the body's input conditions. It's exactly like how cataracts changed Monet's visual inputs. The athlete is now operating with a totally altered sense of body perception. Their mechanics have changed. So the question is, do they just try to clumsily compensate and force their old movement patterns? Or do they truly adapt to the new reality? Well, the answer Kinexa provides is incredibly empowering. Athletes returning with a quote-unquote degraded system aren't just broken versions of their former selves. Not at all. Through true sensory adaptation, they can actually discover entirely new physical resources that they simply didn't even have access to before their injury. Just like Monet discovered bold new ways to paint, the athlete discovers efficient new ways to move. Kinexa is there to actually read those new resources in the data, map them out, and then help the athlete consolidate them into real, repeatable performance. It's a total game changer. Now, if you're as fascinated by this whole concept as I am and you really want to dive deeper into how this amazing methodology actually works, Dr. Christophe Delong and the Kinexa team have provided 5 essential resources for you to explore. First, you can read the Kinexa ebook titled Monet, la perception adaptée. You can also watch Les Visionnaires du Geste, episode V6. Plus, there's an entire learning platform available at formation.kinexa.ai. You can even review the full, beautiful visual deck for Kinexa times Monet, or, just contact kinexa.ai directly to request a hands-on demonstration of their technology. I highly, highly recommend checking these out. As we wrap up Cette Analyse, I really want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If physical limits are shaped by perception, what hidden resources are waiting to be uncovered in your own adapted system? Seriously, whether you're an elite athlete recovering from a major injury or just someone navigating the everyday physical challenges of life, your neurological system is constantly, quietly adapting. What new potentials, what new strengths are you overlooking simply because the input conditions of your body have changed? This peaceful pond perfectly captures the beautiful, almost poetic intersection we've discussed today. It's where human perception, artistic mastery, and physical potential all meet. Remember, adaptation is not a loss. It's a recalibration towards totality. It is quite literally a new way of seeing and moving through the world. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep exploring, keep learning, and please, never underestimate the immense power of a newly adapted perspective.